And joining me now to discuss all this is the CEO of OpenTheBooks.com, John Hart. John, welcome to the show. I mean, this is pretty shocking for Americans to hear numbers like this and see what some of their hard-earned money is being spent on. Why hasn't the government been able to have a budget and get spending over control in over 20 years?
Well, Lindsay, it's great to be on. Thanks for having me. Well, there was a time about 15 years ago when Congress actually did cut spending for the first time since the end of the Korean War. And that was in the wake of the Tea Party movement. My boss, the late boss, Senator Tom Coburn, was on the Debt Commission at the time. And we got rid of earmarks and we stopped the increase in spending at least for a year. And the reason we did that was because the public put so much pressure on Washington. But what we've seen over the past 30, 40 years is a steady increase. And back in the 1980s, President Reagan put something together called the Grace Commission, and it found that 1 out of every 3 tax dollars is wasted. So if you extrapolate that to today's numbers, that comes to about $2 trillion that we could cut out of the budget. And we wouldn't even know it's gone. In fact, services would improve almost across the board. Just as if a person is overweight and you lose weight, you get healthier. That's what we need to do with the federal budget.
Okay, so talk about that a little bit, because it's fascinating to look at some of these numbers. The U.S. actually spends $882 billion on interest alone from our $36 trillion in debt. I mean, John, that's more than we spend on national defense. It's more than the defense budget. So how do you get that under control? Because it seems overwhelming when we're spending more money on the interest than even we do on other things. So how do you chip away at that?
No, that's a great point. Yeah, we're spending more on defense, or more on interest on the debt than we are defense. And Lindsay, one of the great places to look is defense spending itself, where we have this crazy rule in our budget system. It's called the use it or lose it rule. So you have federal agencies, including the Pentagon, that if they haven't spent all their money by the end of the fiscal year, they rush it out the door as quickly as possible in order to not have their budget cut the next year. So in a common sense world, what we do is if you have leftover money, you would either put it back in the Treasury or send it to something more important like border security. It's a very timely topic right now. So just in the last month of the fiscal year in September, we spent $79 billion out of our defense budget, and that's the most we've done since the Bush administration. So to put $79 billion in perspective, that's more than the annual defense budgets of every country on earth except for 4, which is the USA, China, Russia, and India. And in just the last 5 days of September, we rushed money out the door so fast, we spent $33 billion, which is more than what Israel spends every year. And those went to things that had nothing to do with our national defense. We spent $211 million on new furniture, $16 million on ribeye steaks. We spent $6 million on lobster tail. So we do these crazy expenditures every year. The same thing happens. And this is a great opportunity for the new defense secretary to get his arms wrapped around this and end this crazy use it or lose it rule that applies not just to DOD, but every agency.
We're out of time, John, but I definitely want to have you back to continue to talk about this, because we obviously know that Donald Trump put Elon Musk in charge of the government efficiency office, and he thinks he can get $2 trillion. So I want to talk to you about where you think that could come from. We'll have to have you back another time. Thanks so much.